Most Roblox games explain themselves instantly. The moment you see the title, your brain fills in the blanks. Simulator means repetition, tycoon means building, roleplay means pretending. Obby means jumping. These words exist to remove uncertainty. They lower emotional risk before you even click play. They tell you what kind of experience you're about to have, and more importantly, what kind of experience you are not going to have. Steal a Brain Rot does not do that. The name refuses to explain itself. It doesn't tell you the genre, the goal, or the tone. Instead, it introduces discomfort. The word steal immediately implies wrongdoing, not competition. Not challenge, but violation. It suggests that whatever happens inside the game will involve taking something that does not belong to you. The phrase brain rot introduces a different kind of unease. It sounds disposable, shameful, like something you're not supposed to value but secretly do. Put together, the name feels wrong. It doesn't sound fun, it sounds clear as throat like an accusation. That reaction is intentional. When a player sees the name steal a brain rot, their brain pauses. There's no familiar category to grab onto, no promise of enjoyment, no safety signal. And the human brain hates unresolved meaning. When something doesn't make sense, it demands resolution. That unresolved tension creates engagement. Players don't click because they're excited. They click because they want the confusion to stop. And when the game loads, the confusion doesn't go away. The name is never explained. There's no narrative justification. No tutorial moment that reframes it. It simply exists unchallenged and unexplained. That absence mirrors the entire experience. Progress happens without purpose. Loss happens without warning. Value exists without meaning. The name is not a hook, it's a warning. It prepares the player for a world where nothing is clarified and nothing is protected. The title isn't branding. It's foreshadowing. Stealing. Most games teach players that progress is earned and preserved. Time equals reward, effort equals growth. Even when you fail, the failure is temporary. You can recover, you can try again. These systems create trust. Players believe the game is neutral, that it won't intentionally harm them. Steal a brain rot removes that neutrality entirely. In this game, nothing you build is private, nothing is secure. Everything you earn exists in public view. That visibility isn't cosmetic, it's a threat, because anything visible can be taken. Progress is no longer a personal journey. It's a resource other players can target. When a brain rot is stolen from you, the loss doesn't feel random. Even when it was random, when the other player didn't know you, that doesn't matter. The game does abstract the failure. It doesn't say you lost progress. It shows you another player taking it. You don't just experience absence, you witness transfer. Something that belonged to you now belongs to someone else. That distinction changes the emotional response completely. Disappointment turns into anger, frustration turns into resentment. The player doesn't feel unlucky, they feel wronged. Steal a brain rot doesn't simulate competition, it simulates violation. It teaches players that progress isn't something you earn and keep. It's something you temporarily hold until someone stronger, faster, or more ruthless decides to take it. Absence of mercy. Most Roblox games soften setbacks by design. Cooldowns exist to reduce frustration. Catch-up mechanics exist to prevent hopelessness. Safety nets are everywhere, constantly reassuring the player that failure isn't permanent. Steal a brain rot offers no such reassurance. Loss is immediate. There's no buffer, no grace period. Recovery is slow and intentionally unsatisfying. There's no apology screen, no compensation, no message telling you things will be okay if you keep playing. The game doesn't acknowledge your loss. It doesn't pause, it doesn't slow down, it just continues as if nothing happened. Over time, this lack of mercy reshapes player behavior. Players stop feeling safe. They stop trusting the system. They begin watching other players constantly. They become defensive, territorial, paranoid. Every nearby player becomes a potential threat. Players are no longer just playing the game. They're monitoring it, watching timers, watching movement, watching usernames, and that constant vigilance creates stress. Stress turns into obsession. Short-form content. Steal a brain rot didn't spread because it was complex or impressive. It spread because it was instantly understandable on an emotional level. A clip of the game doesn't need explanation. You don't need to know the mechanics. You don't need to understand the rules. All you need to see is a before and an after. Someone had something, now they don't. That transformation is universal. Loss doesn't require context. Injustice doesn't require a tutorial. Anyone can feel satisfaction watching someone else lose. Anyone can feel panic watching themselves barely survive. The reactions are raw and immediate. That's why the game thrived in short-form spaces. The clips weren't about skill. They were about emotion, rage, shock, silence, laughter, revenge. The algorithm doesn't care about fairness or depth. It cares about engagement. And Steal a Brain Rot produces emotional engagement endlessly. Simplicity. The game presents itself as harmless. The interface is minimal. The mechanics are simple. There's nothing visually overwhelming. Nothing that signals you're about to enter a psychologically demanding experience. That simplicity is crucial. Complex games warn players through complexity. Simple games disarm them. Players assume they can leave whenever they want because nothing feels heavy. Nothing feels binding. But Steal a Brain Rot doesn't trap players through complexity. It traps them through unresolved emotion. Players don't stay because they're having fun. They stay because something feels unfinished. Because leaving feels like surrender. You don't quit because you're bored, you hesitate because you're unsettled. Idle progress. Idle mechanics teach players a dangerous lesson. That progress can continue without attention, that you can step away and come back stronger. That absence is safe. Steal a Brain Rot punishes that belief. When players step away, they trust the system to protect what they've earned. When they return and see loss, the pain is amplified. Not just because something is gone, but because it disappeared while they weren't watching. The game punishes absence. It teaches players that safety only exists when they're present. This creates anxious checking behavior. Players log in just to make sure nothing is wrong. They stay longer than planned. They delay leaving. They hesitate to log off. Idle play slowly turns into surveillance. Personal loss. A brain rot isn't valuable because of what it does. It's valuable because of what it represents. Time invested, patience exercised. Proof of progress. Players develop attachment. They watch it grow. They associate it with effort and competence. Over time, it stops being an item and becomes a symbol. So when it's stolen, the loss feels personal. Players don't think they lost an item. They think they failed to protect something that mattered. That self-blame is critical. It turns the emotional damage inward. Instead of blaming the system, players blame themselves. And as long as the blame stays internal, leaving the game feels like admitting failure. Staying feels like the only way to fix it. Controversy. Once monetization entered the picture, the game stopped being just a game. It became an argument. Players argued about fairness. About ethics, about skill versus spending, about whether the experience was predatory or deserved. Those arguments didn't weaken the game, they sustained it. Games die when people stop talking about them. Steal a Brain Rot survived because nobody could agree. Every complaint brought new players. Every defense justified more playtime. The community didn't fracture, it polarized. And polarization is a tension that never runs out.